Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Irons Over Wine. Just a quick little disclaimer. We have no video this week. As we said in the video, we had technical difficulties. I hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome back to another episode of Irons Over Wine. And today is our first video podcast.
I hope that you all enjoy staring at my ugly mug and my awesome blank space behind me with normal lighting, unlike Sean, who's got his really cool computer lighting and everything from his like $9,000 computer that he spent.
Priorities.
Excuse me if I'm coughing or sniffling. I think I'm getting over something. I don't know what, but I've been in a NyQuil coma for like 4 days straight. And today's probably it's like the second day that I don't feel like I'm dying today, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's would have been the third time you ditched me trying to make this.
I almost took NyQuil last night, too, because I started feeling crappy last night. I was like, no, I don't need it. I'll be okay. And I didn't, so I'm awake today.
Take it tonight.
You know what? I got to go to work tomorrow, so I can't.
Okay.
I have to. Every time I take that stuff, I have to set like 3 alarms on my phone and have Kristen set more so she can wake me up when I sleep through mine.
Oh, jeez.
So, Sean, we are going to talk about cold weather camping today, right?
Yes, sir.
So I will say...
Speaking of having a cold.
Speaking of having a cold, and I just got back from, like, Wisconsin, what is it, a week and a half ago? Excuse me. And it never got above 25 degrees when I was up there. That was horrible.
Welcome to the north again.
It's 55 here. When we got back, the day we got back, it was 75 degrees. And the past 4 days have been 65 to 55. But, yeah, you know, cold weather camping for me, too.
I mean, my parents are in Florida. They're like, oh, yeah, it's 85 degrees today. I'm like, okay, thanks for rubbing it in.
See, if you didn't live in Wisconsin, we wouldn't even have to talk about cold weather camping. It would be like mild weather camping.
I'm working on it.
So, obviously, living in Wisconsin, you're used to it. Me, from being up there originally, I'm used to it, or have done it. How's that? We've done it before. We've kind of experienced it and know what we need. So, just like off the top of your head right now, before getting into a discussion, what do you think is the most important thing to bring with you on a cold weather camping trip?
A nice sleeping bag.
That's 100% what I was going to say too. I don't think any of the fancy stuff can beat a nice sleeping bag.
Well, not only that is, in case your heating system fails, you still have that sleeping bag.
Yep. So when I was still up there and still used it, I don't have it anymore because it's not cold down here. But I had a Field and Stream like wool sleeping bag. Like it was super fluffy and big and really thick, and it would make me sweat. Like when we went, the last time I remember using it was Devil's Lake, and it was like negative 10 degrees, and I was sweating in the middle of the night. It was so warm, which is amazing.
I don't have that quite as good a sleeping bag, but I can tell you on my last winter camping trip, I was sweating. Like, I was shedding layers. I was sweating so hot. And I was only in my little, I guess, single-layer neoprene tent from Brightline or whatever, the one with the little orange fox on it.
Mm-hmm.
I had heated blanket in there, my sleeping bag. I put an extra down comforter and my buddy heater. And I didn't know how well it was going to work, so I put my buddy heater on high. And oh my god, about 1 o'clock at night, I was sweating. I'm like, shedding layers, turn the buddy heater off, turn off the electric blanket. I'm like, I'm done.
I think that's honestly, like, really your sleep setup is the most important thing for cold, because, I mean, if you're overlanding, we're going to be in our vehicle with a heater, 99% of the time. Now, some folks might not have a heater in their vehicle, but typically heaters work. And if you've stuck to some of our rules or ideas that we've given you and checking your vehicles, your heater should work. So really, during the day, driving around, it's not that much of a concern. Obviously, if you're stuck or something, you need warm stuff. But really, it's that sleeping, because, I mean, in the truck bed, you're not going to be heating that. In a rooftop tent, you're not really going to be heating it using your vehicle. I mean, there's obviously options. Do you have anything that you use? Furnace, stoves, any kind of heating element?
Right now I just have my buddy heater. I am looking into making or maybe purchasing those all-in-one diesel heaters.
So how often have you used your buddy heater?
Quite a bit actually. I used it out in Colorado. I used it the 2 other times that I went winter camping. I mean, it's a good source of heat.
So
And actually, even though in the rooftop tent, it's hard to keep lit because it has a CO detector built into it. And when I used it, I closed all the windows and the big over awning flap, I just lay it down, and I mean I don't know, the thing turns off because it reads too much CO2, I guess, or not enough high O2. At least I imagine that's what it is, because when I take it outside of the tent, it starts right back up just fine. So I had to leave one awning open and a window slightly cracked so some fresh air can get in.
So I've only used mine one time, really. And we used it in a ground tent that was not a 4-season tent by any means. And the only thing that kind of helped hold the heat in was the fact that we had a rain fly on top. But we didn't really I'm sure if I put a tarp over it, it would have helped a little bit more. But we just had the tubing run through. The propane tank was outside the tent. Tubing went out to the tent. We just had the buddy heater sitting in the corner. And, I mean, we turned it on and left it on for a couple hours. And I think for us, all it really did was take the edge off. So, I mean, it was better than nothing. But it really, in the grand scheme of things, for that trip, the only time that I've used it, it really it's kind of more of a waste of space for me. But I've never tried it in a fully contained, airtight space or space that's better, suited for actually cold. So I can't really speak on it except for the fact that it might work better for somebody than it worked for me. I don't know.
Have it in my rooftop tent. I mean, I did it on at night for about 2 or 3 hours. I mean, fall asleep usually around 9:30, 10 o'clock usually, and then I set an alarm for 12:30 to wake myself up so I can turn it off. Now, after my first time doing it, and it got me through pretty much the entire night. Wake up around 6:37, which is my normal time I wake up. I mean, it's a little crisp. I'm already inside my sleeping bag and everything else, so then I'll just turn it back on to take the crisp out, and it works great for me, at least. I mean, I have no complaints about it.
Maybe I should try and find mine and use it again.
It might actually be a little better since you have that cap and it's a little bit more, I guess, contained, too.
I was thinking that I could probably kind of point it towards me, but keep it near the edge of the tailgate and close it up a little bit, but still maybe leave open either shut the window itself and leave the tailgate open so that the heat can get up and get trapped in there, or shut the tailgate and leave the window open. Honestly, or I just shut both of them as best I can and leave my side windows open to let it air out. But
is your back window open? I forgot.
So the tailgate floats down and then the window goes up.
I was talking about in between the cab.
Oh yeah, my cab, between the cab and the truck open.
I mean, does it have to go all the way open, or can you crack it?
I can crack it. It's a manual one, so
there you go. I just do that.
That could work. That might be a good idea. But I'm so worried. You woke yourself up to turn yours off after 2 hours. I'm always so worried because they've got the automatic shut off, but do we trust that? I mean,
yeah. I'd rather just the CO thing. I carry a CO detector too, just one of the battery ones.
Yeah, it's always a good idea. So
even though I'm in the tent and it's completely airflow and stuff like that, it's just cautious.
So now,
firefighter side.
At night, when you go into your sleeping bag, obviously during the day we're layered up because we're going to be outside or what have you. Do you, what's your rule of thumb for where you put your clothes and everything? Do you keep them in your sleeping bag? Do you put them next to you? Do you leave your clothes on? I mean...
I will... it depends on what the temperature is, I guess. During the wintertime, or fall wintertime, I'll bring a set of, Under Armour athletic pants, and I'll wear those.
So I usually take... I always wear shorts to bed, basketball shorts.
Right.
So
do I.
I'll put I'll put my basketball shorts on, and I'll just have a basketball shorts and a t-shirt on. But my sweater, my socks, and my pants, I will stuff at the foot of my sleeping bag. So
Okay.
that when I wake up in the morning, I'm not putting on, freezing cold clothes. I've still got warm, because I've done that before where I've left like all my clothes outside and I go to put them on and you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm a little cold, but let's put my warm stuff on, and you're like, oh God, this is terrible. That's always helped, and then that adds a little bit extra, I guess, thermal layer inside at your feet to keep you a little bit warmer.
So listen to other couple podcasts talk about that. The bottle trick.
I've heard that. I've never done it, but I've heard about it. Yeah.
So those of you who don't know, usually when the bottle trick is the simpler version of it is take some warm water, put it in a bottle, put it in your sleeping bag. The more roughing it, outdoorsy guy person, that bottle is your pee before you go to bed. You close it up in a bottle and you bring it inside your sleeping bag. And I would say it's pretty much your core temperature, your 96.8 degree or 98.6 degrees, at least right around there. So you're at 98 degrees for at least, I'd say, probably a good couple hours, because you're already insulated in your sleeping bag, and it's going to keep it warm for a little bit as long as you can get over that factor that it's pee.
Yep. I've heard that. I've never done it. The water bottle trick with regular water on it, I've heard, before you are going to bed or while you're driving around, to throw the water bottles on your vents and crank the heat, and that kind of heats them up a little bit. But like I said, I've never ever done that. I can't attest to that. It seems maybe like a good idea, but I feel like I'd get frustrated just having water bottles in my thing, especially if there's piss in them and I've just got the chance of opening it up and spilling, and then I wake up and I've basically pissed the bed.
Also heard a couple stories where people, it wasn't pee, but they just threw the water bottle, just like warm water, inside their sleeping bag, and it wasn't quite turned all the way right, and it's leaked all over their bag, and now you're outside in that cold temperature.
So I've also done it with the hot hands. Like, you can go to any store pretty much, and you get like hot hands or whatever, and you open them up and you activate them and then throw them in your sleeping bag, and it's kind of like a little heater in there. That helps. It definitely warms, at least warms your foot area up. So you don't have freezing cold feet. But honestly, I really think the foolproof way, if you're traveling by vehicle, the foolproof way is just a really nice thick sleeping bag. If you're hiking or kayaking, it's harder to have that thick of one. But
going on to that sleeping bag is whenever you look at a sleeping bag, it's that degree level that it says it's rated for is survival level. Mm-hmm. It's not comfort level. So if you want your comfort level, you're going to have to add on 20 degrees to that. So if survival weather is 0 degrees and you want comfort, you're going to need a negative 20 sleeping bag.
I had don't quote me for sure, but I'm pretty sure that Field & Stream one I had was a negative 35. And that was the best sleeping bag. I had 2 of those, one for me, one for Kristen, and we always use those. And then when I had the rooftop tent, we would layer them. So underneath us would be one of them, and then we'd put the other one on top. So it was like laying on a mattress pad almost, but you were so warm in there too. You didn't have to be zipped up and everything. It was... I can't say enough about those. I may end up trying to buy one of those just in case, I am on a cold trip that I don't foresee happening anytime soon. But
Oh yeah, I think I might purchase one too. I want to try and find more like the double-sized one though, because the Mubby ones are just too tight for me.
Well, that's what
the extra tall ones are.
Yeah,
because they do make them double now, which is actually surprising. I'm like, oh, it'd just be awesome to leave in there generally. Even if it's during warm weather, you can unfold it and leave it half open. You kind of have a blanket, because I'm one of those guys that always have to have a blanket on top. It could be 100 degrees outside, and I still have a blanket on me.
Well, that's exactly what this one was. It was a big square one. So me and Kristen had slept in one of them together before she had a nice one. So, it was big enough for 2 people.
That even better.
Yeah. Now, I'm saying it's big enough for 2 people that like being close to each other, because it wasn't like we were separated. We were right on top of each other. So if you are absolutely, you have something against being right on top of somebody, or it's somebody you're not comfortable with, do not use that one then. But it fits 2 people.
Get ready for the struggle snuggle.
There you go.
So what is your best sleeping setup then? I guess you could say for cold weather. Like, how do you set your stuff up?
Um, Honestly, this one I'm not sure right now because obviously I haven't taken the truck in cold weather to camp yet. But the best setup I ever had when I was doing cold weather, I shared with Ziggy. It was in my old Jeep when I had built a platform inside the Jeep. So we had enough room underneath it for a 65 quart cooler and a bunch of storage. The seats were folded down. And then I had a whole platform that screwed into the top. It used the bolts that held the top in. And then it obviously, I had it separated so you could take it out easy and put it back, whatever you need to do. But we went up to the UP in Michigan, and it was, I want to say negative 20-ish, something up there. It was, I think we went up in January or February. And that night was pretty interesting because it was just a day trip, a night trip. And we tried to start a fire, and the wind was bad. It kept knocking the fire out. We were putting all of our drinks and alcohol in the snowbanks around us, and it was freezing everything. And we ended up drinking a unknown clear liquor from his neighbor. He said
that
it was
sounds dangerous.
He said it was from Russia, but he said it wasn't vodka. It kind of tasted like a schnapp, but it was really good, and apparently it was very, very strong. But we ended up
Russ and I was at work.
we called it early because it was so freaking cold. And so we had a mattress pad and a blanket under both of us, and then each of us had our own sleeping bags inside the Jeep too. So I had my nice sleeping bag, he had some crappy one. And so that night, I think at like, I don't know, I want to say 1 o'clock in the morning, he had woken me up. He's like, man, I'm so cold. Can we please turn the Jeep on for a little bit? Because we're inside, and it's all in one cabin. He's like, can we turn it on for a little bit and get the heat going? I was like, yeah, man, no problem. Just make sure you stay up and turn it off when you warm up. So I fell back asleep, man. I woke up, sun in my face, and the Jeep is still running. I'm sweating. I'm soaking wet. The Jeep had ran for 5 hours overnight with the heat blasting, and he was out cold. So I was like, oh my! So I woke him up. I was like, what are you doing? You know. And before that, I had slept in there with Kristen. I think it was either November or December when we did the Trans-Wisconsin Trail, and we spent 2 nights in it in the cold. And again, the sleeping bags, and we'd run the Jeep for about 30, 45 minutes before we went to bed, and then shut it off, and that would keep us warm for most of the night until we fell asleep. And then by the time we woke up, it was kind of the same thing. It was cold in there, but we weren't freezing to death or anything. So that was probably the best, just because you relied on your sleeping bags, but you had that little cushion of starting your vehicle if you needed, and kept you warm.
Yeah, that reliant heat source, I guess you can say.
Mm-hmm. What about you?
So the way I set mine up, and this was before the rooftop tent. I mean, Colorado wasn't so much cold weather camping. I mean, it got down into the 30s, but that was because they were up in elevation.
Mm-hmm.
But when I did the 7-hour plane crash trail for Wisconsin a couple of times, and what I did was I just got a whole bunch of foam mattresses. Now, reading more into it, you want to look for an R-rated one so that cold air doesn't get into it.
Do you have to get a permission slip to use those because it's R-rated from your parents?
Absolutely.
Okay.
But I had the foam mattress down. I put a heated blanket down and ran it off my Jackery, put it on low, and then I put my sleeping bag on top of that, and then my down comforter over my sleeping bag.
Ooh, a heated blanket's a really good idea with the Jackery.
Oh my god, it's amazing. It's a game changer. If you don't have a buddy heater or anything, that heated blanket.
That's a really, I didn't even think about that. The only thing I've really looked into for my truck is just setting up the like thermal layers around the windows. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much what everybody recommends for that, because it's already carpeted, so it's insulated already. It's just the windows that really are the weak point. So heated blanket, that's the play right there.
Absolutely. Especially with the Jackery. I mean, on low, it ran it down to 78%, I would say.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and I had my buddy heater going too. Oh man, that's probably one of the main reasons I started sweating. That I just turned off the buddy heater, and then the electric blanket I turned all the way off too. I was good all the way till 8 o'clock in the morning. The sun was up. I'm just like, yep, I'm good.
Well, now you're making me want. I really want to try it out. Like I feel like sleeping in that cap will be so nice in the wintertime. I really want to try
Oh,
it.
absolutely. Like you said, get just some of those reflective insulation panels for the window, and I mean, I crack that back window a little bit, add that buddy heater, and then heated blanket. I'd be set.
That's a pretty good idea. Yeah, honestly, besides all that stuff, I mean, you really don't need fancy stuff. It's kind of some cold weather camping really just goes back to the basics for everything, and just
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a big intimidation factor probably for a lot of people, I'd say.
I think honestly the biggest intimidation factor for me, like overland wise for cold weather, is the snow. Snow is a totally different animal than mud. You know, you've got
Oh yeah,
a mix of ice and snow. Like mud tires are decent in like deep snow, but any bit of ice, like you are on ice skates. You're just skating around. So that's where you
air
really
down.
need your ATs. But even the ATs are not going to be awesome in deep snow. So you're
Well, I'd air down. Every time I went, I've always aired down to about 10 psi. Smooth ride, and I rip all day long.
What would you say is the worst part about cold weather camping besides being cold? That doesn't count.
Mm, Nothing really. I mean, I got everything set up for it. I'm prepared for it. I actually, how much I hate the cold, I really enjoy it. I mean, when you're out there in the wilderness too, especially with a fresh blanket of snow, it's so quiet, and the scenery, especially if it's just a little wet, sticking to trees. There's nothing really I hate about winter camping, or
Are you
at
ready?
least me.
Are you ready to be aware of something?
What?
Having to work on your car.
Ah.
'Cause you bust your knuckles, it hurts so much more. Your hands are freezing, you're freezing, so it just amps up the level of anger when you have to fix anything or any kind of breakdown. So I think that's really,
Well, I,
really the only
I
drawback.
never had a breakdown, so.
I just worked on stuff in the cold quite a bit, so that's my
Oh,
problem.
same.
So if you had to choose, would you choose like dead winter freezing cold camping, or would you choose dead summer heat of the frickin' heat from hell
Oh,
camping?
middle of winter, all day long.
So you're choosing, man. See, like the hard thing is that I would rather be cold at night when I'm sleeping, but I like during the day, warmth better. I feel like I don't know. I'm picking summer camping. I've changed since I've moved down here. Gotten soft.
I want to go like into the Arctic. Like I don't know. I don't want to do so much of like do the Dalton Highway during like middle of winter. But I think it'd be cool like right on the cusp of it when it starts snowing and everything.
I would love to. That'd be awesome. We definitely got to do the
Oh yeah.
Trans. The Trans Wisconsin in wintertime was actually really cool. It was
Oh yeah.
beautiful driving through all that whole area, and then when we got to what is that Lake Superior up there,
Hmm.
the whole shoreline was all frozen, and all the trees were just like icicles and all. It was a really cool sight. It's one of the coolest pictures I've ever taken.
I don't know if it's open, but one of my favorite campsites is the beach campsite on Superior. It's like you go right onto a beach on Lake Superior, and I wonder if that's open during the wintertime because that would be cool.
You'd probably just go there anyways.
I mean, it's cool too because it's open enough too that there's some trees and everything, so you can camp a little bit farther back if you want to block yourself from the wind too.
So now that we're in winter, I guess basically it's still. I mean, it's not really winter for me, but it is winter in general. Do you have any cold weather camping trips planned or coming up, or anything you're itching to do?
Uh, Nothing in the books. I'm pretty sure if I get like a 3-day weekend, I might trade with someone and just shoot up north for a night and then just do a solo thing real quick. And that'd be about it. The biggest thing I have about winter camping is it gets dark at about 4:30, 5 o'clock. What do you do?
You just drink. That's the problem. You sit by a campfire and drink. You run out of your booze. That's your biggest issue. Run out of booze too quickly on winter trips because you start early.
But what about those that don't drink?
Hot coffee.
Cocoa.
That is hot coffee in the morning on a winter trip is probably my favorite thing. You come out, it's morning, there's frost on the ground or snow. You go to that fire that you had the coals set up and you just get it lit up again and you get your coffee going. You just sit bundled up while you're waking up and drinking that hot cup in the middle of the woods. Oh, that's a fantastic feeling.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anytime, though. Really, for waking up and camping, coffee in the morning.
I can't say much though. I'm drinking iced coffee because, again, it's 60 degrees, so it's okay.
Whatever. It's like just above freezing here, so it's still raining. It's cold rain.
Yeah.
Miserable.
Well, we're going to Chattanooga in January, but we're in a cabin, so it's not really camping. So that's the nearest cold weather trip I have planned. And then in March, I am hiking a section on the Buffalo River with some people. So that's kind of cold, I guess. It'll probably be 50s, 60s still. So
It'll probably drop down to the 40s at night, maybe 30s, depending on if a polar vortex makes it that way down there.
I sure hope not. I hope not in March. I hope it warms up enough. But we've had some of our worst snowstorms down here, like end of February, early March. So it's definitely possible.
Yeah. More 2 years ago, I forgot is it February? I think it is February when Moore gets held in Missouri. Oh my God, driving there, it was a snowstorm. It was like 10 degrees. I'm like, I left up north for this. Going south, I figured it'd be warmer.
Yeah. So fingers crossed that's not really a cold weather camping trip, and that's a whole different animal because I'll be hiking. So like I can't carry a lot of really thick stuff. So I'll probably pack some hot hands with me and my frickin' summer sleeping bag because it's light.
Good. Base layer.
Yeah. I got some Under Armour and I'll probably layer up. I'll probably have 2 or 3 layers on me so I can strip down when I ever need to and be warm most of the time. So that sucks because we'll be in the Ozark Mountains, but we'll be close to the river. So like that river is not really warm ever anyways. So it's going to be freezing if we need to get water or wash up or anything.
Oh, all that, whatever snow's already melted is going to be going down anyways.
Yeah. So, but that's pretty much it. That's all I've got today. You have anything else?
No, that's about it.
Well, hopefully y'all enjoyed our little tiny tip of the iceberg on cold weather camping. And
get out there, have fun.
Go enjoy it. It's cold weather time. Some people say that this is the end of the season, but I think it's still middle of the season right now. I think you still should be able to go out and camp and hike and everything in the wintertime. It's just you got to be smart about it.
I'd say I'm set for year-round stuff, so there's never an end time with camping for me.
Exactly.
Just making the time to go out.
All right. Well, we will see you next week.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe on the YouTube channel. Our podcasts are on all forms, Apple, Spotify, Google. We also have the Facebook and Instagram thing if you guys want to shoot us a like or follow us. And then if you want to give us a, suggestion for a podcast, go ahead and DM us. Slide into those DMs.
Slide right on in.
All right, catch you next time.
Bye.
Later.